Welcome into another edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Third week in a row, we're live, Frank, and the Yankees have made a move. The Browns have benched their quarterback. Bill Belichick is the head coach at UNC. The Jets won a game, and the Milwaukee Bucks are NBA Cup champions. Lots to get to today. Where do you want to start?
So I want to start with Bill Belichick because the ridiculous story came out over the weekend that before he took this UNC job, Bill Belichick had this thought in his brain that, you know what, I'm going to contact the New York Jets. Before I commit to this whole college thing, maybe there's a sliver of hope that there's one NFL team out there, the New York Jets, that will save me and give me another NFL opportunity. And I cannot for the life of me can picture Bill Belichick sitting in his chair being like, yeah, I'm going to call them and maybe we can work something out. Like, after what he did to them in 99, after the 99 season, going into 2000, and the torture that he put on this franchise for over 20 years, and the way he talked about them and laughed in their face that he would actually want to be a part of that, like, I can't believe that Bill Belichick would actually do that. It's just not something that I can ever foresee happening. I could see maybe the Jets putting it out there as, like, a way to make Belichick look bad, but Bill Belichick going out of his way to contact the Jets? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying it. I feel like there was some sort of communication because all the big dogs reported it. It wasn't just someone leaked something out. So that's a question of which side was it? Was it the Belichick side or was it the Jet side? My inclination is that it was the Jet side because I think this makes the Belichick side look terrible. I think had to be the Jets, right? I feel more like it's the Jets than it is the Belichick side, but also I can see the Jets doing it to say, hey, look at this candidate, the greatest coach of all time, has interest in our job. Other perennial head coaching candidates should have equal interest in the job. But the more I think about this Belichick stuff, Frank, the Jets part of it be damned. The UNC job makes sense. It does. I know we sat here and I said there was no way, there was no how, it didn't make any sense. I kind of have changed my tune. I do think it actually makes some sense.
Why?
I understand.
Why?
What he's doing because I don't think he was going to get a job where he had the power. B, I think there was no chance he wanted to do media again for an entire year, and he knew there was a chance that he wouldn't get hired for one of these NFL jobs. And if he went 2 cycles in a row actively trying to get a job and didn't land one, it would have been not embarrassment, but it would have been egg on his face. He would have had to tuck his tail between his legs and crawl back. This is a chance for him to write his own legacy and prove he wasn't a one-trick pony. He could win at a different level. He's bringing in his own guys. He's going to work with his friends. He's bringing essentially his entire staff is just his friends. He's created the oldest coaching staff in college football and his kids. If you're going to go out, that feels like the way to go out, and it's low pressure. Like, if he doesn't succeed,
so if he sucks and he goes like, I don't know, 2-10 or whatever, like, just crumble it up, throw out the window, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna affect his overall legacy. No, but if he does well, I think it adds to his legacy. It's really I see it as a no lose situation for Belichick.
Like, how well could he possibly do though? Like, we're talking about North Carolina football. Yeah, they've had some good players.
We went through the schedule last week, Frank. I had 11-3.
Mike, he's not going 11-3, especially in year 1. Maybe in like year 2 or 3, he might start, building something. But as we've seen, like, it's so rare in college sports where you get a new coach and immediately there's a flip from going, from an average program to like an elite program. It's just there's no way that you just snap your finger. Yeah, they have some winnable games, but I just can't see this UNC team going from where they are now to being a perennial college football playoff power in a year. It's just ridiculous expectations to levy upon him, and like. It's not like you could be the greatest coach in the world, but if you're working with chicken crap, like, what difference does it make? You still got to recruit the elite talent, because in the end of the day, that's what truly wins out is the talent. And we'll see. I know Belichick's there's stories about him getting guys to transfer, but we'll see like how truly great these guys are. But it's not going to happen in a year. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think if he's not successful, it will just add to the fact that he couldn't win without Brady. The only guy he can win with is Brady. Everyone else, complete total failure of a coach. That's what it's going to be.
Two different circumstances now, and like Vanderbilt had its best season and turned around in a year. Like, why can't UNC in a worse conference? I mean, Dabo Swinney versus Bill Belichick, arguably the two best coaches in the conference. Like, Belichick should have a massive coaching advantage over everyone.
I mean, you could argue Belichick should theoretically have a coaching advantage. In every game they play, he should have a coaching advantage.
I agree. They weren't any better in New England. Now I think he's going to just use some of those things that it was like when we had OB at Emerson. Like, we had a giant coaching advantage, and there were times where OB single-handedly won us games because the talent level, you could make up for it in coaching. In the NBA, it's a lot harder. The talent level's closer. In D3 basketball, a good coach was like having another superstar on the court. In ACC football, if you have the greatest coach of all time going against Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, you might as well be playing 11 on 12. So, yeah, I think he's going to do pretty well. I'm not going to lie.
We'll see. I was just really annoyed that this was even put out there as a possible
He was never
scenario.
going to the Jets. He took every shot at the Jets he could in the media this year. Woody Johnson, Aaron Rodgers, all the above. He was just firing shots left and right. That was never going to happen.
We'll see. So the Jets are the best team. I would say best organization in all of sports at winning when they're supposed to lose. No one does it better than the Jets. I mean, it could have ended up being another, Brady-esque situation Belichick-esque situation where, they were all positioned to take Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall, and then they beat the Rams, ended up picking number 2 and taking Zach Wilson. But it looks like, at least for the time being, where we stand right now in December of 2024, that was not the catastrophe that it could have been. Granted, Zach Wilson's still a catastrophe player, but it's not like Trevor Lawrence is going out there. The Jaguars have already won 2 Super Bowls and poised to, run the table in the AFC for the next 15 years. It's not like that level of catastrophe, but there's still didn't work out. But the Jets already eliminated from the playoffs, and what do? They go out against the Jaguars. Granted, the Jaguars at this stage of the game, no Trevor Lawrence, done for the season due to shoulder surgery, and Rodgers and Devontae in that second half was, the most dominant-looking passing attack I think I've ever seen from the Jets in my lifetime. In that second half, it was just the way Rodgers and Devontae were looking was like, oh my God.
Does it make you mad that the rest of the season they didn't look like that? I know how your brain works, and I know you were thinking, where the F was this for the last 12 weeks of the year?
Well, so I actually just started watching. I watched the first 30 minutes of the first Enigma episode. Are you planning to watch Enigma or have seen any of it?
I have not seen it yet. I will watch it. I'm currently watching The Sopranos for the first time.
Sopranos,
whatever. And I am hooked. And the thought of watching anything else right now and taking my time away from that is not going to happen.
But I watched the first 3.5 seasons of The Sopranos during the pandemic, 2020. And I just it got to a point where I'm just all right, I've had enough. I've had enough. It was just so much, and I hit a wall. I was but we'll see. I haven't watched it in years, but I should at some point continue on and finish it out. But part of me is just after seeing the way the Jets played, and listen, hopefully they're going to lose to the Rams this week because the Rams are first place in the NFC West. Everything on the line here for the Rams. They cannot afford to go to MetLife Stadium and lay an egg here against the Jets. There's just too much at stake for them in the playoffs, the NFC West, everything. And they're just a better team than the Jets at this stage of the year. They have been, over the course of the season, have been a much better team with Stafford and Kupp and Nakua and Kyron Williams. They're absolutely loaded in offense, and the Jets can't stop a nosebleed on defense. So the Rams should win that game, and then you look at the string for the Jets after that. So you finish up with the Bills should be a loss and the Dolphins should be a loss. So hopefully no more wins for the Jets the rest of the season. But saying that, I've sort of convinced myself that they have to run it back with Rodgers, Devontae another year, and I've seen a lot of rumblings about Garrett Wilson wanting to request a trade, which I hope isn't true, but based on the way he's been acting on the sidelines and everything,
it's true.
You think he's going to request a trade?
He's a number 1 receiver. He's one of the 10 best receivers in football, and he is playing second fiddle to Devontae Adams, and there's nothing he can do. He can't play any better. He will always be the second option in Aaron Rodgers' eye. And for a guy that talented who wants to get paid like a Jamar Jefferson, like a Jamar Chase,
Justin Jefferson.
I combined him like a CeeDee Lamb. He needs to produce at that level, and he's not going to get the opportunity to playing second fiddle to Devontae Adams. And no matter how good Garrett Wilson is, he will never, ever, ever have the rapport with Aaron Rodgers that Devontae Adams does.
That's fair, but I think there's a world where they could be 2 elite guys. Why can't that be? Why can't you just have 2 elite?
This year, this year was your chance. I
don't know. Listen, I'm a true sucker, and I'm going to hope that Garrett Wilson Is he probably going to be gone? Yeah, but maybe there's a world where everyone's back together and things look great next year. But I just, based on the way Rodgers sort of looked here the last after like the bye week, he's just looked like a different player.
He does look healthier, and I'm not sure if it's just the time and reps after the torn Achilles, but the last 2 weeks he's moved around way better than I remembered earlier this season.
And like no one's gonna like trade for Rodgers, and like if the Jets were to like just release him or whatever, like you're still gonna owe him all this money. You might as well just run it back another year and see what happens, or at least give it until like week 10 or 11, see where you're at, and then if it's like really going like a disaster like this year's been, then you pull the plug. But I think there's a world where the Jets could be like somewhat competitive next year. Hopefully, they just gotta really improve the defense and get a little more toughness. Get a head coach in there like a Mike Vrabel who can get some discipline with this team. I feel like once they lost Salah, like all the leadership in the room like basically was gone. And TJ Moses is out for the year, so there's no one. Like I feel like this defense was playing great. Salah got fired and is falling off a cliff. I think there's some sort of correlation there. I don't know if guys like Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams need like a hard nose in their ears at all times, and I think Salah was that. So we'll see. It's interesting times in Jets land, given how well Rodgers played. Granted, against the pathetic Jaguars.
It still counts. And Devontae Adams, I was going against him in fantasy, and he killed me, so rightfully so.
That reminds me, last year, not this year, the last year in fantasy, it was like week 2. I was up like 45 points, and Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams had like 50 points. I had like a 99% chance to win. Devontae had 50 points. Garoppolo won. The Raiders lost the game. And I lost my fantasy matchup because Devontae had like 21 catches for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was like the most like absurd game ever, and I lost.
He has games like that. He's really freaking good, man. He's really, really, really good. He's still really, really good. And Garrett Wilson, enjoy him for the last 3 weeks of the season, Frank. It's the last time you get a chance to choose.
What do you think he's going to the Browns?
No, we actually did that topic on the show, but the Browns wouldn't trade a first-round pick for him.
I mean, he deserves to be. I mean, he's
worth a first-round pick. The Browns just have too many holes to trade a first-round pick.
So, other NFL news, the Falcons decided to bench Kirk Cousins in favor of Michael Penix Jr., and this sort of validates everything I've been saying about Kirk Cousins my entire life. After he was a free agent, I believe after the 2017 season, and the Jets reported really interested. I said I was going to rescind my fandom if he signed with the Jets, and he ended up signing with the Vikings. They had made the playoffs a couple times, but anytime Kirk Cousins is the quarterback of your team, just in the end, it's always going to be a catastrophic failure. Not that the Jets have been any of this sort of success, and they probably would have been more stable with Kirk Cousins, but they were never winning anything with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is one of my least favorite players ever. And Mike, what's crazy is that in January of 2023, I believe, was the year, Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins squaring off in a playoff game. That's like, just over like a year and a half ago. Yeah. And here we are. Just over a year and a half later, Daniel Jones is on the practice squad.
It's 2 years. We're 1 month away from 2 years.
All right, essentially 2 years later, Daniel Jones is on the practice squad of a team. Giants couldn't release him. Now, and Kirk Cousins he's off the Vikings and has been removed as a starter. Crazy how quickly, the switch can flip.
Well, and, hold on. 2 extremely different flips. Cousins, older, tore his Achilles. He was.
Yeah, but this was. Achilles or not, like he was doomed to be benched at some point. I'm just happy. I'm just shocked it didn't happen sooner.
He was having a great season before he got hurt last year. He had a really good season 2 years ago. I think the regression you've seen from him is his inability to step into throws. He looks like a shell of himself physically. I think the Achilles injury you saw with Rodgers, I think you've seen the same thing with Cousins. They're not the same quarterback in terms of like moving around in the pocket. They're kind of a one-trick pony. Rodgers seems to be getting healthier. He also tore his Achilles 2 months before Kirk Cousins did.
Exactly. Rodgers seems to be going up, and Cousins seems to be going down, which is interesting.
Yeah, and it's the right move. They're in a playoff hunt. Cousins has been abysmal. He has 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions in the last 5 weeks. You can't keep putting him out there. The offense is stale. They were so lucky to beat the Raiders on Monday Night Football. That game was so bad. They were begging Vegas to take the game from them, and Vegas obviously was unable to, but it's the right move, and I don't think Kirk Cousins is like the worst quarterback you could have. But
is he starting for a team week 1 next season?
Yeah, the Browns.
Really?
He played for Stefanski in Minnesota. He's gonna be the Browns.
So if you were to bet today, right now, who was your best bet to be the week 1 starter for the Browns next season? You're going Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's gonna demand. Here's how it's gonna play out, Frank. The best case scenario for the Browns, and this will pivot us right to the Jameis discussion. Best case is Sam Darnold. I think Minnesota is going to re-sign Sam Darnold for a 2-year deal.
Then what do you do with JJ McCarthy?
You let him recover. He had another setback. There's no guarantee he's going to be healthy. Darnold's playing as well as he is. You sign him to a 2-year deal. First year.
You think he would accept a 2-year deal? Why wouldn't a team offer him like a 4 or 5 year deal at this point?
They may, but would you want to leave Kevin O'Connell? Like I don't know. So
all right. So you're Sam Darnold. You've been in the league since 2018, I believe, and this is the first real success that you've had in the league.
Yeah.
And yes, if you're talking about which situation is the best, probably the Vikings, because you have the stability of the coach, Justin Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones. The weapons are there. Everything is in place for you to have to have a nice little run here, and possibly, hard to say what the ceiling is for the Vikings this year. But why couldn't they represent the NFC in the Super Bowl? But beside the point. So you're Sam Darnold. You've been sort of this journeyman guy, been a backup with Carolina, failed, Jets failed, and now San Francisco backup. And now you're here in Minnesota, and things are finally going great for you. And this is your first and maybe only chance in your whole career, because his stock will never be. I mean, hard to believe that his stock will ever be higher than this.
He's gonna get $40 million a year. Yeah.
And you're only gonna sacrifice. And you think he'll just settle for a 2-year deal if someone's gonna offer him 4 or 5? I think 2 years. I think that, as we saw with Juan Soto, like, some guys just wait their whole lives for this one opportunity. I can't see Sam Darnold settling for any sort of contract.
Sam Darnold has stunk everywhere else he's been except with Kevin O'Connell. If you're going to stick with Kevin O'Connell,
but if you have the financial security, then what difference does it make?
He was the 3rd overall pick. He got a giant contract. He's going to make $40 million.
No. But the contracts have changed. The contracts have changed. It's not like it used to be where you're the number 1 overall pick.
He's going to get $40 million next year, Frank. Yes, you're right.
He's not settling for any sort of deal anywhere. That's a ridiculous thought.
All right, we'll see. But I'm saying, here's how you asked me, how do I think it's going to play out? So here's how I'm telling you how I think it's going to play out, not how you think it's going to play out, Frank. This is how I think it's going to play out. Darnold's going to end up re-signing with Minnesota, which takes
on a 2-year, $40 million deal.
2 years, $80 million. Second year is a team option, similar to the Cousins deal.
Second year team option. So I think Darnold has.
Can I finish my damn point here, Frank?
Darnold has earned.
I think, and then just all of a sudden,
that's a ridiculous contract. You're basically going to sell his soul for basically a 1-year deal and have to prove himself all over again next year. There's no way Darnold would ever agree to that. Ridiculous.
We'll see. Darnold goes back to Minnesota.
Team option, maybe a player option, but not a team option.
I can't wait till you start making a point, Frank. I can't wait till you start making a point. I'm just going to end the podcast in the middle of your point. Second, Cousins is going to demand to get cut. He's not going to waive his no-trade clause, because that way he'll have to be – whoever trades for him would take on the $27.5 million. He'll pull a Russ, cut me. He's going to sign with Cleveland for the minimum. He'll be their bridge quarterback. He played for Stefanski in Minnesota. They're going to be extremely bad again next year. They'll win 6 games, and they're going to try to draft a quarterback in 2026.
So what do you do with Deshaun then?
Oh, he's not coming back.
Didn't they say that there literally was a report this week that?
Yeah, don't believe that. That's propaganda. Trust me.
So they're just going to cut him and eat the dead money?
No. They're just going to pay him and tell him to stay home.
Interesting. I just don't know. Like, all right, so you get Kirk Cousins, great. What do you expect to happen with Kirk Cousins in Cleveland? What do you expect to happen with Kirk Cousins in Cleveland?
Nothing. But
what does the coaching staff in the front office believe that's going to happen with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback?
Well, they have 1 year left to prove it, and if you have 1 year left to prove it, Frank, look at the other options. Do you like Cousins? Do you like Justin Fields? Do you like? Once again, Darnold's.
I take Justin Fields over Kirk Cousins in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit what Stefanski likes to do. Stefanski's a drop back, under center, play action quarterback that needs timing and rhythm. That's the opposite of what Justin Fields does. Fields is more talented, don't get me wrong, but it is a clash of styles that doesn't fit.
Like I wasn't even a fan of Kirk Cousins when he was like putting up quote unquote great stats with the Vikings. I was like, this guy's still trash, because when push comes to shove, he's gonna fall flat in his face. And now not only is he falling flat in his face, his numbers are atrocious.
You've seen the quarterback market. Like it's a bad quarterback market. It is objectively bad. There are not many good options. There are not many even options.
And which even boosts the stock of Sam Darnold even further.
Yeah, which is why $40 million a year for a 1 year plus something.
Oh my God, he's not getting a 1 year deal.
Maybe it's 2 plus a team option for third, but he's not leaving Minnesota. I'd be shocked. I'll put $5 on it right now, Frank, that he's in Minnesota next year.
If the Browns end up signing Kirk Cousins, granted for the minimum. Like what's the point of seriously? What's the point of even playing this season? You might as well just even quit before it even starts.
So what's your better option for him?
For the Browns?
Yeah. Or for maybe for a quarterback.
Then keep rolling with DTR, or like let someone else play it out who actually, maybe has a little bit of a higher ceiling than Kirk Cousins, who's a disaster.
You might be coaching for your job next year.
So you're going to put your job in the hands of Kirk Cousins? I can't think of anything dumber.
Frank, you're right. That sounds crazy, but look at the other. So your other options, Jameis. We did this today on the show. Jameis, Kirk Cousins, or Jameis?
Or me. Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to run through the list. Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
Justin Fields.
Fields is better. It doesn't fit. Whatever. Kirk Cousins or DTR?
Let's see what DTR's got. He can't be worse than Cousins.
I'm going to answer the question for you. Trust me, it's Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins or who was the other quarterback that we were talking about today? A rookie quarterback that's not Shador or Cam Ward.
Let's see. Free agent quarterbacks in 2025. All right. Darnold, obviously. Zach Wilson, trash. Trey Lance. The Trey Lance thing is bizarre. Like, it's bad. I guess Cooper Rush is starting to play a little bit better, but Jacoby Brissett. Now, Taylor Heineke is a guy that has had success, and I like him.
I have one name I'm going to throw at you at the end of this, but keep going.
I would take him. Mariota, no. Drew Lock, absolutely not. Stidham, no. Andy Dalton, no. Justin Fields, yes. Flacco, trash. Retire. Jameis Winston's maybe not as big a catastrophe as Kirk Cousins. I wouldn't want either of them. Mac Jones, no.
You see my point.
You know what? Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz I would take for the Browns next year.
Oh, my God. Can I tell you the real name that I'm interested in? Teddy Bridgewater.
So that was interesting that he came out and he said that he's going to play. Who the hell? It seems like he's ready to go to a team like soon, within like the next week or two. He's going to sign with a team.
I would take Teddy Bridgewater over the other options, just based off the fact that maybe he still has something in there. The other guys, I don't.
Honestly, because he played. Did he play for Stefanski? Was he there?
Yeah, he was in Minnesota when Stefanski was there. Yeah.
So he was definitely. I would take him over Cousins and DTR in a heartbeat. Absolutely, that's what that.
You don't know what you're getting because he hasn't been in the league in 3 years, but if you get anything, then maybe it's something.
And I honestly like. I like Wentz. I like Garoppolo. I like Mason Rudolph. All those.
They had the opportunity to get Garoppolo, and they passed on him.
Garoppolo,
Jimmy G.
You said Garoppolo.
They had multiple chances in 2022 to get Jimmy G. He was being dangled in front of them, and they passed. I can't imagine they go to him now. But listen, it's a bad situation. The Browns are stuck in QB purgatory.
The two biggest catastrophe quarterbacks in the NFL are Kirk Cousins and Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Both just. And the thing with Jameis is that he could beat any team on any given day, but he can lose to a Division III football team. Like, that's how like much of a roller coaster ride it is having him as your quarterback.
It's fun. It's also treacherous and torturous. It can drive you crazy. We do these QB breakdowns with Sean King every week, and some of the throws he makes are incredible, and some of the throws he makes, you can't do anything but scratch your head and ask, why in the world did you let that one rip?
So the Browns bench Jameis because nothing's ever going to change for Jameis. He's sat for years on the bench, had a chance to learn and grow and develop, and he came back and it's just the same guy over and over again. I think that he just doesn't have the ability to like read and understand defenses, and that's I don't think it'll ever come to him, and that's why he's in the position he is, because he just never is able to read what the defense is doing. No quarterback I ever see gets baited into more interceptions than Jameis Winston. Cornerbacks and the defensive coordinators feast on him and the way he stares down his reads. Never seen anything like it.
We're good.
On to the NBA. So the Bucks won the NBA Cup, and if this isn't a referendum on a tournament, the Bucks refusing to sell, huh?
Why is this a referendum?
The Bucks didn't refuse to even celebrate the win. Usually, like, you win the championship, you get champagne celebrations, a whole big. I didn't watch a second of it. Do not care. The Bucks told me they don't care. The NBA is in a precarious position. Ratings are down, and you're seeing teams like the Nets having to basically, who could have been a really good feel-good story this year had they had any incentive to be somewhat competitive, but because of the way the NBA is set up, where over half the league is trying to lose. They didn't have that incentive to keep trying to be good, so they had to trade Dennis Schroeder for a bag of peanuts, just essentially. And I thought about it like some more. Like the Celtics are like far and away like the best team. There's really like no close maybe the Cavs in the East, but after that, like the Nuggets are like sort of, on a seesaw affair. Like games from them on a day in day out basis. I don't know. They're just like I was saying, Cleveland. There's probably a lot of juice for the NBA because the Cavs are, they got a great record, but
best record in basketball
nationally, like I just don't think there's not a whole lot of like interesting things going on in the NBA. And the NBA Cup, like teams refusing to celebrate the championship, like damn. That to me is a huge black eye in the tournament.
I don't know if they refuse. I mean, Giannis said like this is going to this trophy. I don't know if saying they refuse to celebrate is accurate. I think the issue with the NBA, Frank, is when 67% of your teams make the playoffs and the 10 teams who don't, 80% of them are actively trying to lose. It just makes the night in, night out product feel unimportant. There's too many games. There's too many teams that make the playoffs. There's too many guys who just sit out and rest management, and there's nothing you can do about that. Like, you're not going to be able to fix that. That is just what what the current climate of the NBA is. The ratings, I don't buy. The ratings could be down, but that's because people watch in different ways now. They illegally stream. They follow on Twitter. The games are on YouTube. There's so many different ways to consume the content. I don't think the game is less popular than it has been, despite the ratings being down. I just think people follow the NBA in different ways than before. But the big issue is 20 teams make the playoffs, Frank. It's a 30-team league. And 8 of the 10 teams that aren't trying to make the playoffs are in the net situation where they are actively trying to lose. My solution, the top 12 records make the playoffs. East, West, don't care. Top 12 records make the playoffs. Just like the college football playoff, the top 4 records get a first-round bye. 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 7 plays 8, or 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9, and you have a tournament like that. And
I don't know what the solution is. All I know is that right now I'm not.
You have to find a way to make each game feel more important. But when there's 82 games and 68% of your teams make the playoffs, it's hard to make that night-to-night thing feel bigger than it is.
Fair point. That's all I want to say about the NBA. I just think the NBA. So, are you a fan of the NBA Cup?
I thought the games were really good. Yeah, I think it's impossible to get people outside to care about it, but the actual product was good. Yes.
All right. So in Major League Baseball, Yankees trade for Cody Bellinger, who I brought this up last week, and you said you hadn't even thought of it.
It was genius, and you were right.
Which is scary. Which is a little scary because like if I'm like screaming for something and like it ends up happening, it's usually not. My record in those situations isn't typically the best.
They gave up nothing too. Like they didn't.
Yeah, they basically just took on his salary.
Yeah.
Which is basically going to be $25 million a year. But I mean, he fits the Yankees like a glove because he's got so much versatility. He could play first. He could play any of the 3 outfield positions, and he's as a lefty hitter. And I think that he has literally the perfect Yankee Stadium. I know people say this a lot. Yankee Stadium swing. He literally has the perfect Yankee Stadium swing, and I'm really excited to see him in Yankee Stadium. I really think it's important though that they put Jason Dominguez in the best situation to succeed, and that's putting him in whatever outfield position he's most comfortable in. Last year clearly was not left field because he looked like a debacle in left field. Put him in center where he at least has a history of being the most comfortable. But Bellinger either at first, and then you could sign like a Santander or somebody else to play left, and then Judge obviously in right field. I think that's the best situation for the Yankees. And there's been a lot of debate on social media. The Yankees in a better situation now than without Soto. I think that they're really addressing like the needs of the team because if they would have just had Soto, like they still would have all these holes in the bullpen and.
We didn't talk about the Devin Williams trade, but that's a hell of a trade too.
Yeah, but the only thing that's annoying about the Devin Williams trade is that you know how many times I've seen that stupid Pete Alonso home run clip circulating on social media. Like every single Mets fan and every single person associated with that organization is like. Look, remember this home run, the final pitch, the final batter, Devin Williams faced is a Milwaukee Brewer home run to Pete Alonso. It's just like, all right, we get it. You give him a home run to Pete Alonso, which is very obnoxious. But I hope it's good. He's, has a track record of being a great closer. And, with him, Luke Weaver at the back end of the bullpen, like that should be a lockdown for the Yankees every game. They should never lose a game after leading after 8 innings the whole season. But a little bit of I don't know if you saw this or not. So Cody Bellinger's wife, before they married, used to date Giancarlo Stanton. And I just pray to the heavens that this is not something that, turns into a distraction for the team and, Bellinger and Stanton are like trading blows in the dugout.
I pray the Yankees did their due diligence on this and talked to Stanton and talked to Bellinger. And before they acquired Cody from the Cubs made sure this wasn't going to be an issue. Like, let's be adults here. Let's be men about this. Obviously, it happened. We all know it happened. Let's not make it awkward. Giancarlo, are you okay with this? Cody, are you okay with this? All right, let's proceed. The answer is no. They can't make that move. So I'm hoping the Yankees took the proactive steps to ensure this won't be an issue, Frank. And if that's not the case, if that's the reason this Yankees team, which if they could sign a first baseman, Santander, Christian Walker, someone in that realm, one more guy, I think this would be a pretty big win of an offseason despite losing Juan Soto. I think the team has filled out pretty damn nicely. If what derails them is some past beef between who two of their better players used to date, it'd be the most Yankee thing ever, Frank, but it would drive me absolutely nuts.
I'd like to believe that, the Yankees got ahead of this, and, but I guess you never know because you have a feeling Stan's going to be asked about it. Like, the first question in spring training is, how do you feel about, your ex-wife being around the team now, or your ex-girlfriend being, always around now that, Bellinger's on the team. Like, I can't imagine a reporter's not going to ask that, and he's going to give a legitimate answer, but deep down, is it really going to bother him? We'll see. I'm sure Stan's moved on as well as Bellinger has. But last thing before we go, is there a bigger clown in sports these days than Doug Gottlieb? Can you think of anyone whose reputation is just taking a bigger nosedive recently than Doug Gottlieb?
It's not a good week if your name's Doug. Schefter dunked on him. He called the school nobody you and then lost that school.
That you cannot recover from that. And this whole idea of him being a legitimate college coach has been a sham all along. He's still being a full-time radio host every single day, Monday through Friday, who I'm seeing on X right now that he didn't show up for his radio show today. So there's clearly some sort of something going on there. But Doug Gottlieb as a college basketball coach, his team's 2-11. They just lost to a Division II team. Damn, it's as I say, it's not what you want.
No, it is ugly. And Frank, I'm getting a call from Virginia right now, and I'm expecting. So we got to end the podcast so I can take this real quick.
All right, that will do it for the Lucas and Lucas podcast.